Welcome back, Fantasy Football World. This is the 423 Football Podcast, and this will actually be one of our weekly bonus episodes dedicated mainly to our own League of Record. For those of you who have been listening to the podcast regularly, you know we have a bit of a new schedule throughout the week. This episode was recorded on Wednesday night, so anything that happened during the Thursday night football game or any significant news that broke will not be covered in this show. So just wanted to enlighten everyone before people panic, overreact, and start asking questions. In fact, our Wednesday and Thursday shows, which have already released, those were also recorded in advance on Tuesday night when Brett, Peyton, and myself all have time to actually record. So like I said, our shows will be recorded retroactively to when they are released. It's kind of, I guess, a hassle to have that, or it's a burden to not be able to get fresh news like that instantly, but we'll do the best we can. Like I said, we got a lot of things going on, so hopefully we'll still be able to give you as much information as we can. And like I said before, if you go over on Twitter or Facebook or even Instagram, follow us at the 423 Football, and we'll have posts constantly over there, and that'll be the best way to keep up to date with the news. Today, I'm going to discuss a bit of news, review our league's past week specifically, and even hand out some awards to our own league mates that they earned throughout this past week. So before I jump into all of that, I just want to take a quick moment and just have a little PSA, a little public service announcement to all David Johnson owners out there. Listen, it is not the end of the world. Trust me, it is not the end of the world. I understand your number one pick is gone for a significant amount of time, but there is still hope. Do not give up. Fantasy football is not won at the draft just because your first round pick is gone. It's a year-long game. 2 years ago, just a little diatribe of what happened to me. 2 years ago, I lost 3 of my first 6-round picks at some point in the season. But with some trades and waiver wire moves, I was still able to come out victorious by winning my first of back-to-back championships in our League of Record. So, even though I lost a bunch of major pieces, including, that was the year Jordy Nelson tore his ACL. I had him. I think that was my second-round pick. He was gone. I was still able to pull through and make some moves and come out on top. Just don't give up. That's not fair to you, and it's not fair to the rest of your league or anyone for that matter. And not to mention that in our own League of Record, which, like I said, this episode is going to be talking mainly about our own league, I always, every single year, I draft Aaron Rodgers in the first round, every year. In theory, that puts me at a disadvantage every year, but it proves my point that you don't win your league at the draft. I still find a way to be active and know my stuff and pick up the right people, start the right people, sit the right people, and get to the playoffs and potentially win a championship. So all you David Johnson, or even Allen Robinson, I know he went down with the ACL this week, all you David Johnson owners, don't panic. There is still hope. Okay, let's jump into the news. Danny Woodhead, we talked about him a little on the last show. Originally supposed to miss 4 to 6 weeks. Now it's looking like he's going to miss 6 to 8 weeks. That hamstring thing is a little dicey, and if you listen to our past show, Brett was talking about how just hamstrings in general are kind of peculiar. There's not many ways to heal or make the process of healing quicker. It's just rest, and more rest. So it could honestly linger probably on the longer side towards that 8 weeks. So just something to keep an eye on when it comes to Danny Woodhead. I know a lot of people picked up Buck Allen this past week. Both he and Terrence West are probably going to see a significant uptick in workload. Still no decision on Colts starting quarterback this week. Obviously, Scott Tolzien had a brutal week one. That team just looks completely terrible without Andrew Luck. So it's going to be either Scott Tolzien or Jacoby Brissett. Honestly, I don't think it really matters. I'm not starting any Colts this upcoming week. Kerwin Williams, named starter for week 2. I know that title, everyone wants to jump on board with, hey, it's the starter of a pretty good offense, but just temper expectations because they are going to use a running back committee. They just re-signed Chris Johnson. Andre Ellington's still there. Honestly, if I was going to pick one of the guys, I'd probably lean more towards Andre Ellington because he has been a solid starter before, but honestly, all of these guys are kind of they're going to get a lot of work separately. Ian Rappaport tweeted that there is a lot of optimism that Odell Beckham will play week 2. So still, we're going to keep an eye on it throughout the week, throughout the weekend, up until the game starts. But, and obviously, I believe, that's the Monday night game. Monday night game against the Lions. So a little more time for Beckham to heal up and possibly play in week 2. So I do believe that he will play, which is fantastic for all those Odell Beckham owners out there. Last bit of news, Jordan Howard on the injury report this week with a shoulder ailment. Obviously, Tariq Cohen was the big waiver wire ad of this week. Had the fantastic game against the Falcons in week 1. Jordan Howard being on the injury report definitely doesn't help the situation. Like we said before, Tariq Cohen doing what he did and coming in, we didn't think he was going to take Jordan Howard's role by any means, but if a significant injury were to occur, which I don't think this shoulder injury is, but if one was to occur, Tariq Cohen would slide right into that role. And honestly, I think he can. Even though people view him as a scat back, I do believe that Tariq Cohen can be a very productive RB1 in fantasy. Okay, just going to jump right into the bulk of our show. We're going to go into our own league of record, our KPT BALLAS league. It's our Week 1 review. So, Week 1, done and over with. The teams coming out on top this week, starting 1-0. We got Matt, Brett, Heather, Joseph, and myself. We're all victorious in Week 1. That means on the other side, Charles, Steele, Bush, Peyton, and Kevin were served up losses this week. There were some pretty tough matchups across the board. As everyone knows, Week 1 was kind of low scoring, which is kind of shocking. But we saw, I don't know, just saying some different things than we normally would see. Obviously, like people like Le'Veon scoring, 7 points, hardly anything, and Kareem Hunt obviously going off for 40. So it was a strange Week 1. Matt was the high scorer this week. As I said, he won with 126 fantasy points, followed close behind by myself with 122 and Brett with 121. So pretty close there. I think those were the 3 highest scorers by, I think, a good 20 points. I think only 2 other teams got in the hundreds. And again, if you've listened to us before, if you haven't, we do play in a standard league, so I know PPR scoring a lot of times is much, much higher than standard scoring. So just keep that in mind when I'm discussing any points or anything like that. It's standard scoring. Matt, like I said, 126 fantasy points. He rode to victory on the back of a solid team that includes Week 1 standouts Antonio Brown, Melvin Gordon, Adam Thielen, who had a huge game, and Leonard Fournette, the big rookie in Jacksonville, getting a ton of work down there. My team, King of the North, aptly named, was led by none other than Kareem Hunt. I was the guy who had Kareem Hunt. We talked about him a little last week. Got him in the 12th round. I know we drafted a little early, so if you're thinking, whoa, Kareem Hunt in the 12th round, that's incredible. But yeah, I mean, obviously 40.6 fantasy points in our league this week. Definitely helped me get the win. However, even without Kareem Hunt's 40 points, I would have still won my game by less than a point, actually, if you just took Kareem Hunt's 40 away. Yeah, I had a pretty dominating performance this week. But granted, it's week 1. There's a long season. We got a lot of time to go. Going to give out some awards right now. Best pregame pickups. I went back and forth, but I think I'm going to give them out to 2 people this week because it really honestly helped them get a victory. So best pregame pickups for week 1 go to Brett and Joseph. Brett snagged the Jaguars defense, who ended up scoring a lofty 28 fantasy points. A defense scoring 28 points, it's hard to beat that, honestly, because defenses they're scoring maybe 10. 10's even a decent game for a defense. So yeah, 28 points. That's incredible. And then Joseph coming in, he grabbed Chris Thompson to replace Jay Ajayi. Thompson only scored 11.6 points, but that's a pretty good pickup considering he had to scramble to pick up someone to replace Jay Ajayi, who obviously didn't play in week 1 because of the hurricane. But yeah, Chris Thompson, 11.6 points. Great pickup for Joseph. Definitely great replacement for Jay Ajayi. Now for the kind of negative award, the Poor Coaching Decisions Award this week goes to our own podcast host, Peyton Light, for leaving 51 points on the bench, which led to a 30-point loss to our league newcomer, Heather. So, pretty maybe some rookie luck coming in with Heather, but not really. She knows her stuff. She knows what she's doing, but definitely not a good week for Peyton, leaving that many points on the bench, 51. Now, obviously, we've talked about injuries throughout the week, and it's been pretty hectic in the injury department. So just the player or our own league mates who had those players go down, I'll just go through those. David Johnson, Brett owned David Johnson. He owned him in, I believe, 2 leagues that I'm in with him. He's had David Johnson for the past 2 years, I believe. David Johnson, that's his guy. That's most people's guy if they have been holding on to him. But definitely a big blow for all David Johnson owners, and Brett specifically in this league. I happen to have Allen Robinson. Again, I had Allen Robinson in every single one of my leagues this year. If you listen to the last show, I kind of mentioned that I wasn't really that high on Allen Robinson. It was more of he fell to me, I'll take him, and I'll be on my way. But obviously not going to have him in any league this year, which is kind of tough in our KPT Ballas league because I'm kind of scrambling for wide receivers at this point. I have Devontae Parker as my 3rd, which, that's fine. Doesn't have the best matchup this week, but definitely need to try to find a trade partner or a waiver wire ad to get a decent wide receiver this week. And then last, Danny Woodhead. Steele had Danny Woodhead. Not the biggest hit, just because it's standard, and 2, Steele didn't really need Danny Woodhead that much. It does, however, help me, who is a Terrence West owner, and obviously I'll go in, and the Buck Allen owner, but I'll go into who the weekly waiver wire ads are in just a few moments. But yeah, Danny Woodhead, like I said, Steele, losing him for significant time. I believe he's already been dropped from Steele's team. I'm not really going to be one to go and rush to pick him up. So, like I said, moving on into waiver wire ads. First waiver of the year. I had the waiver priority number 1. I just went ahead. I didn't really want to use it. I was very, very hesitant to use it, but I went ahead and grabbed Tarik Cohen. I really, really, truly believe that Tarik Cohen can take over this role at some point this season, and if he keeps getting targets in the passing game like that, he can honestly be another slot receiver for the Bears. And I really, really do believe Tarik Cohen's going to have a lot of fantasy value. And maybe I know I've tried. Anyone in our league listening to this right now, they know I've tried to go and sell high on Tarik Cohen, trying to snag a wide receiver. Coming in at number 2, we got Buck Allen. Steele snagged Buck Allen. Obviously, I was talking about Steele having Danny Woodhead, losing him. So being able to snag Buck Allen is a perfect replacement for Steele's team. Coming in at number 3, Kenny Golladay. Golladay going to Peyton. Obviously, like I've been rambling. You've heard me ramble about how I've needed a wide receiver. So you might be asking, why didn't you go after Golladay? I really, 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 really like Kenny Golladay. I think he's definitely going to be a touchdown machine in that Lions offense. He's definitely the biggest guy aside from Eric Ebron, but I don't like Ebron at all. But like I said, why I didn't get Kenny Golladay, I just think Tarik Cohen's value is through the roof at this point, and I definitely want to capitalize on that. Number 4, we got Kerwin Williams. Talked about him a little bit earlier. Bush snags him. Bush also goes in and snags Austin Hooper. We saw Austin Hooper's big week, 2 catches, 128 yards, and a touchdown. But definitely pump the brakes on Austin Hooper. That's not going to happen every week. He's got a decent matchup against the Packers defense this week, who they aren't the best when covering tight ends. So he might get in the end zone again, but definitely don't expect a game like that again from Austin Hooper this year. And then coming in, last significant waiver wire ad, Chris Carson. Kevin grabs him. Again, that Seattle backfield is kind of a mess right now. It's kind of hard to tell what's going on. Chris Carson definitely showed his ability in that Packer game, but again, temper expectations. Eddie Lacy's still there, even though I don't think he's usable in fantasy. Thomas Rawls is going to be back this week. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But Chris Carson, definitely a guy you'd want to have just in case it does play out in your favor. So jumping in right into our Week 2 matchups coming up this next week, we got me playing Kevin, Steele playing Brett, Joseph, who I have to mention just recently changed his name to what we've been trying to get him to change it to for a while. He changes it to Gin and Juice, or Gin and Juice, I should say. Obviously, he has Ted Ginn on his team and Jarvis Landry on his team. So, fantastic team name there. I'm just waiting for, like I said, Peyton picking up Kenny Golladay. He needs to change his name to A Golladay Keeps the Doctor Away. That's courtesy of Brett Hamilton right there. And like I said, Joseph playing Charles in Week 2. We got Bush playing Peyton, and then Matt going up against Heather. So, yeah, that's going to be our show for today. It was a short one, but hopefully you guys stuck around for the whole thing. And we'll be back next week, next Wednesday, after the Week 2 games. We'll come at you with our Week 2 preview. So, yeah, follow us over on Twitter and Instagram at the423football. Like us on Facebook. Leave your comments, questions, and rating. And most importantly, share us with the world. Thanks for listening. We are the 423 Football Podcast. Peace out.